Welcome back to the channel, all you shakers, bakers, and big boot quakers. I am, as always, your host, Mr. Sean. This is Chimera Miniatures' official YouTube channel. Today we're diving back into Am I the Bunghole, where people ask the internet whether or not they are the bunghole. If you missed the last video, what we do is we read the story that they have posted to Reddit, and then I'll weigh in and give my opinion on whether or not the OP of the story is the bunghole, or if anyone else in the story is the bunghole. But before you hear me say bunghole a bunch more times, I'm going to pitch my business. As always, I use this channel to promote my business, Chimera Miniatures, mostly selling through eBay. I have D&D, HeroClix, and not safe for work HeroClix available, as well as many other collectibles and other items that you might find interesting. Links are in the description, as well as my links to both fetch rewards and branded surveys in case you want to save a little money, make a little money. Again, they are not sponsors of the show, just things I use personally, and if you sign up with my code, I get a little something extra, and you help me, I help you. You know how it is, but without further ado, let's say bunghole a bunch more times. Our first post of the day comes from Orange Lover 333. Am I the bunghole if I cut my sister off financially? Long story short, my sister, 22, lied about using my, 20 female, credit card. For the past couple weeks, random Lyft charges were appearing on my credit card. I asked my sister if it was her, as she's one of the few people I gave my credit card info to, but she said it wasn't her. I canceled my card and ordered a new one, but Lyft charges were still appearing. The two most recent charges were on Christmas and Tuesday. On Christmas, I saw a charge come through from Lyft, and I asked my sister did she request a Lyft, and she said no, that she was getting picked up. She was headed to her boyfriend's house. I believe her and assumed someone was using my card again. On Tuesday, I was at work and once again I saw a Lyft charge on my credit card. This time I had a feeling it was my sister, so I tracked her on Find My iPhone and saw she was moving at car speed from her boyfriend's house to our house. I waited until I got home to ask her about it. When I got home, I asked for her phone to see if she had Lyft. She stalled. I suspect she deleted it before handing it to me. She denied not only using Lyft, but having it on her phone and said she walked home. A complete lie. I literally tracked her. It pissed me off, but I let it go. Well, today, I was using my deceased mother's phone and happened to see my sister was logged into her email. On a whim, I looked up Lyft, and lo and behold, both Lyft charges appeared under her Lyft account. What I felt was pure sadness and anger. I sent her the proof that she used my card and said she will pay me back. I'm quite disturbed for many reasons. One, even if she was using Lyft and accidentally charged my card, why lie in the first place about having Lyft? 2. Whenever I brought up someone possibly using my card without permission, she showed sympathy and offered to give me money for those unknown charges, when it was her the whole time. I know this may seem minute, but I don't think I can ever look at my sister the same way. Lying about something so small and sending me on a wild goose chase to figure out what was going on with my card is pure lunacy. Anyway, I plan on never giving her money again. Am I the bunghole? Judgment here is really easy, OP. 0% you being the bunghole, 100% your sister being the bunghole. I don't fully understand your living situation. You're 20, your sister's 22, you live in the same house. Apparently you randomly use your deceased mother's cell phone. I don't fully understand the dynamic here, but your older sister apparently is just helping herself to your money to hire a Lyft ride to her boyfriend's place on numerous occasions. I know that you said that your sister was 100% lying when she said she walked from her boyfriend's place, but apparently it's close enough that that is not a out of the question thing for her to do. So why is she stealing your money to be driven there? Why can't her boyfriend come pick her up and drive her home? Or why can't she walk there? Why is she feeling entitled to your money? And she knows you noticed the charges, so it's not like she just thinks that you wouldn't notice that it was so minute or that you don't check your account. She offered to give you money when you thought somebody was illegally accessing your cards, which is one, a weird thing to offer to do, and two, if she has money, why is she using your money for Lyft? Don't give your sister any more money. She clearly doesn't respect you or your resources, and it sounds like she doesn't work either. So if she's relying on you because she won't work, she won't get her own car, she won't get her own place, she won't pay for her own Lyft rides, cut her off. Not the bunghole. Our second post comes from user GlumAbrocoma434. Am I the bunghole for destroying my boyfriend's relationship with his sister? I, 22 female, and my boyfriend, 22 male, live together. I am the breadwinner and earn more than triple what he does. Important for later, and because of this, I see to most of our expenses. This arrangement works well for us. My boyfriend's sister recently relocated and asked my boyfriend if he would like her car. She bought the car new less than 4 years back. By taking the car, the vehicle finance loan would transfer to him. As he only works part-time with an unreliable income, his sister said she'd give him 6 months leeway and she would cover only the installments. He pays insurance during that time, but he is required to pay her back. I was skeptical as this was a big financial responsibility. I expressed my concerns to him, but he promised to get a better paying job and it would be his financial responsibility. When we get to her, she lives 20 hours away. We notice a huge crack in the windscreen. Fast forward to when we're at the airport and the car handover is about to happen. Here we find out that the car is in terrible condition. She has never taken the car for a service in its life. The car had an engine turnover, the brakes were damaged, tires old and worn, and no spare, as well as many things. Before coming down, my one condition was that the car had to have a long distance check and full service to ensure we arrive home safely. She assured my boyfriend that she did and that the car is ready for the long road, but before the drive back, we find out she lied. We arrived home safely after a 2-day drive. After having the car for a month and a half, she started putting pressure on him to take over the loan and no longer wants to give him leeway. She also tells him that she took out a large loan to prevent the car from being repossessed and that he'd need to pay for that. My boyfriend quoted from a mechanic the cost of repairing all that was wrong, and the amount was crazy. His total repayment would be 3 times the value of the car. Tension started to build in our relationship because this car started also being my financial responsibility. My boyfriend is not in a financial state to take over the repayments right at that second, or the additional undisclosed costs. So I put my foot down and said that he has to tell his sister that he won't be taking the car, as I will not be paying for it any longer. He agrees. His sister got really upset and the situation turned ugly. She made a group chat with various family members to mediate the situation, but just threw all sorts of threats, insults, and accusations my way. She demanded he take the car because they had an agreement, but he refused as it was based off of lies. My boyfriend has since cut her off, returned her car, and never wants to see her again. Am I the bunghole? 0% the bunghole, OP. You didn't destroy your boyfriend's relationship with his sister. Your boyfriend's sister destroyed her relationship with him. She tried to sucker her brother into buying her car because she was moving somewhere, and one apparently couldn't take the car, so I assume this was overseas, but also knew that because of what a complete neglect she had shown this car over the past 4 years, that there was no way she could sell this car and get back the money that she still owes on it. So she decides to take advantage of her relationship with her brother, your boyfriend, by saying, oh yeah, the car's in great condition, it was bought brand new, you just have to take over the payments, and sold you guys a car, more or less, even though it wasn't exactly a sale, that wasn't even safe to drive, even though she assured you that it would be checked out and insured safe before you guys came to pick it up, but she didn't even bother to do that. She knew it was a piece of junk. She knew that it took her 4 years to turn this car into a scrap heap, and then got mad at you guys when you called her on her bullshit. Thank God she's out of your lives. I can't imagine my sibling doing that to me. Not the bunghole. Our next post comes from user Rima5000. Am I the bunghole for leaving my in-laws' Christmas dinner after I found out that they didn't make accommodations for me? I got invited to my fiance's family Christmas celebratory dinner. It's my first Christmas with them. I have always been picky about what I eat. Can't help it, and it has to do with psychological factors, childhood, and personal likes and dislikes. Before accepting their invite, I let future mother-in-law know that I wouldn't be eating the traditional Christmas food at their celebration, and showed her a variety of dishes to choose from to accommodate me. She refused and told me to bring my own dish. I said if I had to bring my own dish when I'm a guest, then I better stay at home then. We went back and forth and I insisted I wouldn't come if accommodations weren't being made. I just thought it was a simple request and future mother-in-law could have agreed if she really wanted me there. My fiancé agreed that I should bring my own dish, but I didn't. We arrived there and I saw that no accommodations were made. I got up, got my things, and walked out and went home. My future mother-in-law and fiancé were shocked. I got tons of calls and texts from them both, and my fiancé came home lashing out, calling me selfish and spoiled to walk out like that over a dish that his mom didn't have to make for me, and that it was my responsibility to feed myself. How is it my responsibility to feed myself when I'm a guest? Makes no sense to me. I told him this and he accused me of starting shit and ruining my first Christmas with his family and disrespecting his mom. Now he keeps saying I fucked up and should have sucked it up for the family's sake. Edit to clear a few points. For those saying I have no respect for my in-laws, I do, especially future mother-in-law. I respect her, but this is so far the biggest conflict we've had. I work long hours even on holidays, so not much time to cook. I wasn't asking for an elaborate dish or several dishes, just one simple option. OP, you are 100% the bunghole in this situation. I know you've said it's psychological and all that, but you are a picky eater. You have preferences. Just like anyone else, yours are just a little more unwavering than most of us. And when you're a picky eater and you're going somewhere where they're not going to be serving anything you can eat, you have to bring your own dish. In fact, it's pretty common to bring a dish at Christmas, so bring something you can eat. If you had a food allergy and simply were asking that they not use a particular ingredient or perhaps just leave it out of a dish, that would be one thing. But that's not what this is. You don't have a medical need to not eat certain foods. You just don't want to. It's this whole I'm a guest, I shouldn't have to do anything is selfish and it's stupid. You work long hours during the holidays? Join the fucking club. My fiance and I work long hours. We still brought a dish to Christmas. Coming to your fiance's family's house for your first Christmas is not about being a guest and being catered to and being waited on. It's about spending time with the family. And because you were unwilling to even give their food a try or bring something you could eat to keep the peace, you just walked out. You ruined Christmas, OP. You're a bunghole. Hopefully your soon-to-be ex-fiance's next girl he brings to Christmas treats his family a little better. And yes, my fiance's a picky eater too, and she would have no problem with us bringing our own dish if my family was going to be serving something she couldn't have. Even if your fiance doesn't leave you, you should just end the relationship because you are forever going to be known as the bitch that ruined Christmas. Our next post comes from AITA Food Prefs. Am I the bunghole for throwing my childhood in her face? So background, I, 28 male, have a little sister, 13 female, Josie. I'm sure some of you have a similar scenario with siblings and can relate to the fact that Josie and I have had very different upbringings. I don't think I had a bad childhood, and I know my parents did their absolute best by me. Just the facts are that when Josie was born, they were more mature and prepared, meaning they've been able to provide her with more stability and opportunities than they could when I was a child. I am absolutely not jealous about this. If anything, I'm happy for Josie and that she's getting such a good childhood. Now the issue. Our parents both have quite demanding careers, meaning long hours, so Josie spends a lot of time hanging out with my husband and I at our place. My husband and I are both IT guys in our 20s, and we absolutely live like it, LOL. Pertinent here is the way we eat. We don't live off of junk food by any means, but neither of us is going to say no to pizza, and if we get sent home from any kind of function with leftovers, we're eating leftovers for the next few days. Which is exactly the issue. My folks have been back at work after Christmas, so Josie has been at ours a lot. We spent Christmas Day with husband's family this year, and his mom sent us home with a frankly boggling amount of leftovers, so that's mostly what we've been eating this week. This includes Josie, who has made absolutely zero complaint on her own part and has, in fact, seemed pretty happy about it since mother-in-law is a great cook and the kid just loves turkey. However, when my mom caught wind, she kind of flipped out about it. For some reason, one of her big things the past 10 years has been a bit of an anti-leftovers crusade, and she believes everyone should just eat freshly prepared food every day, something about depleting nutrients the longer it sits. She got quite mad at the fact that husband and I have been feeding Josie with leftovers and had a bit of a rant about how we're depriving her of proper nutrition. I said we ate leftovers all the time when I was a kid, and I turned out fine. She really went off at me about how I'm so bitter and twisted that Josie has had more stability than me, and it's unfair of me to throw my childhood back in her face and to take it out on Josie as well. She ended up crying and hanging up the phone. I'm honestly mostly confused. Mom keeps texting me that she's sorry she was such an awful mother to me in a way that feels quite passive-aggressive, and Dad called me an ungrateful arsehole for saying that to her. Josie doesn't seem to want to pick sides, but the rents have been sending her to our aunt instead of my house when they work, so there's that. From an outside standpoint, does it sound like I was the arsehole here? If I was, I'll apologize because I didn't mean to be, but I want confirmation if I effed up or not first, LOL. 0% the bunghole, OP. You in no way threw your childhood in your mom's face. You simply said, hey, leftovers were fine for me, I don't see the problem. You weren't saying it in an accusatory way, you just said, hey, leftovers are okay, it's food, we're eating food. Your kid, who you are watching their daughter, your sister, for free, is being fed. Mom is just taking out her feelings not only about leftovers, but her own insecurity about how differently you and your sister were raised out on you. you aren't resentful towards your upbringing, but however, your mother apparently feels guilty about it. Not only are you not the bunghole in this situation, you get negative bunghole points for being so cool to your sister, and, when mom and dad can't be around to actually raise her. Your dad is a minor bunghole. I think he's probably just, one, siding with his wife, and also is probably only getting her side of the story, but he likely also has some of that same guilt she does. But her calling you and saying, "I know I'm a terrible mother," says more about what she thinks she is than anything you believe. Trust me, I've known people whose moms do this as well, and it's always out of some narcissistic form of guilt, where deep down they know they're being shitty, but they're gonna, they're gonna accuse you of saying that they are, because they can't admit to themselves that they are, because that goes against, narcissism. Clearly your sister doesn't have a problem with the food you're eating. She's not taking a side because, it's really, you're her brother. She probably looks up to you, but mom and dad are mom and dad, so she probably doesn't know what to believe and thinks it's all just kind of silly. Is your aunt making your sister fresh meals every day that she spends with her, or is she also getting some leftovers and takeout? Your mother just decided out of nowhere, because she has a preference against leftovers, to ruin her situation with a free babysitter. Again, mom's the bunghole, OP, not the bunghole. And our final post comes from user AfterUpstairs2580. Am I the bunghole for telling my daughter that she's the reason why nobody likes her? I, a 40-year-old woman, had my first daughter, I'll call her Sandra. She's 20 years old, with my boyfriend George, who is now 50. When Sandra was 5, I realized that George was abusive, so I broke up with him. He didn't have an interest in maintaining a relationship with Sandra, so I effectively became a single mother and raised Sandra on my own for the next 6 years. Then, when Sandra was 11 and I was 31, I met a man I'll call Frank, who was 33. We got married a year later and started having children, Sandra's step-siblings, the year after that. Now I am 40, Frank is 42, Sandra's 20, I have a son who I'll call Francis, who's 7 years old, twins named Philip and Julia, who are 5 years old, and a daughter named Stacy, who's 3 years old. Since Francis was born, Sandra's been complaining to me about how she feels pushed to the side. For the first few months of his life, I can admit that she was somewhat pushed to the side, but that was because he was a baby with health complications, and she was a 13-year-old who required a lot less intensive attention. Then, when Francis's health got better, I was able to split my time more evenly between the two, but it was never enough for Sandra. We've tried family therapy, but Sandra refused to talk. I've tried doing things alone with Sandra, but she says she's jealous of her half-siblings, who have 2 parents while she only has 1. And even then, my time is divided. I told her I'm sorry about her jealousy, but Frank's a nice man, and the only reason why she feels disconnected from him is because she's being bratty about the changes. Sandra has done nothing but complain about how the younger children are getting more attention than her, and I am not entertaining that dialogue anymore. Since Philip and Julia were born, I've been telling her that it's her own fault she's not agreeable enough for anybody to spend any time with her, and she's had 6 years alone with me. That should be enough. Sandra responded by getting even more and more withdrawn. She was awarded a full scholarship to a college and is now 2 years into it. Since she started college, she barely comes home, and when she does interact with the family, she's been sullen and rude. I did my best as a mother. I'm sorry she didn't like it. I've still got a family who appreciates me, after all, so I told her that she's the problem because everyone else can get along just fine. But I figured that I would check with all of you, to maybe understand her perspective better. She's told me about this part of Reddit and how it's good for questions. So, am I the bunghole? Edit. When I say that Sandra had 6 years with me, I meant from the ages of 6 to 11. I was not including the ages of 0 to 5 when she was alone with George and I. Edit 2. Half-siblings. I know, I'm sorry. OP, you are 100% the bunghole in this story. Your daughter had to spend the first 5 years of her life witnessing your abusive relationship with her father. Then, she spent another 6 years with a single mother who probably could not devote the time to her that she needed because you were a single mother trying to provide with no help from the father, and she probably had no one she could talk to her trauma about, no way to cope and move forward with that. Then, you meet this other guy and immediately start having kids with him, casting her to the side, and then your entire attitude to her as you just keep having more kids with this guy, spending less and less time with her is, oh my god, why can't you just be happy that I have a good family now, that I'm with a great man who gives me children instead of the guy who gave me you, who was a butthole? It is clear that you resent your daughter for her connecting you to your past abusive relationship, and then you wonder why she's distant from you, because you just want this new story, this new perfect family, and your daughter is your reminder that it wasn't always that way, that you have a past that you want to forget, and you're taking that out on her. Your daughter was traumatized at an early age, and you just kept neglecting and further traumatizing her, and you wonder why she barely has any contact with you. Your daughter is clearly a strong woman who has gotten herself a full scholarship, probably worked hard in school so she could get away from you and not have to rely on you, because she knows she can't do that, and you just don't see it. You're not even going to entertain her dialogue when she's trying to tell you about her trauma and she's trying to heal. No, because that gets in the way of your image of yourself as this perfect mommy with Frank and your other kids. Hell, you even had to point out the fact that you called them her stepkids, not half siblings. You don't even see her as a part of this family. As far as you're concerned, she's just some girl that hangs around. You're a bunghole. And guys, that is going to be our video for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, make sure to comment. Tell me, was I too hard on people? Was I not hard enough? Tell me your bunghole scores in the comments. Be sure to check the links, maybe buy a miniature, get yourself some fetch rewards, take some surveys to get free Amazon cards. And until the next time, everybody, I'm Mr. Sean. This is Chimera Miniatures, and I hope you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.